Welcome, everybody, to the Knightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and we are back. It's been a while since we've gotten to talk to you. This is our first podcast of the fall term. We did get to do a podcast with Brian, Christiana, Tyler Coleman, and myself, keeping everybody updated about what has been going on with the club. That being said, this is our first regular edition since February. It has been a long time, and again, I know that we've kept up with you. But today, this is one of the most enjoyable things I've been looking forward to. Leslie Heimbaugh is here to speak with us about the CPC Film Series. Leslie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here too.
So why you're here, Leslie, is with the CPC Film Series, you have been our CPC Film Series correspondent.
Yes.
For basically the last 2 years at
Yes.
least. Do you remember what the first film was that you...
Airplane.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was winter of probably 18.
Yes.
So that's 3 years now.
Yeah.
If it was 18.
Yeah, I would say that's what we're coming up upon.
So we found, we really wanted to reach out to you to see, we try our best to develop beats for our students to find things that are interesting to them. And you've just gravitated towards film.
Yeah.
And we gave you an opportunity. This was supposed to happen several months ago. But we gave you an opportunity. You'd pitched it by us and said, hey, would you ever consider a student doing one of these CPC film series? Because it's basically just faculty that have done it to this point. And so we're giving you a shot. So let me know, do you recall when you first asked us about this, what the thought process was? Is this something you've been thinking about for a while?
Yeah, I'm a film junkie, and I love movies. I love studying movies. I love getting in there and seeing what makes the director tick, and seeing how actors, translate what the director's asking them to do. So it's very fascinating business for me. And when I saw a couple of my professors doing the presentations, I really couldn't get enough of it. And again, I'm such a cheerleader for Central Penn, so I'm trying to get as much engagement as I can with my fellow students, because there's just so many fantastic things happening here. And I always feel sad when kids don't get to take advantage of it. I'm old, so I call them kids.
So you mentioned about being a film junkie, and obviously that was part of the reason that you gravitated toward the film series in the first place. So what were your feelings whenever we came back after our meeting and said, hey, we're going forward with this?
I was blown away. I really never expected it to happen as a student, and I've such great admiration for the professors that have done them in the past, that they're just so analytical about how they tear a movie apart. And I thought I'd love to take a try, but I never thought it would really happen. So yeah, I am beyond excited to get the chance to do this. I'm very nervous too, because it's big shoes to fill, but I think I can come up with a discussion on this particular film that's going to be really relevant to the times we're living in right now.
So I want to put this out there. We're talking about the CPC Film Series here in fall with movie yet to come, because we haven't gotten there yet. But it's save the date, October 16th. It's a Friday night at 6:30. And we're going to talk about how this is going to work in our, I hate using this cliched term, but new normal here, and how this is going to work out here on campus based on the pandemic, so to hopefully ease some of your mind. So we're going to get to those two things. Next, when you originally wanted to do this, you went in one direction, and then that kind of changed and morphed into your present selection of film. Can you explain that process that you went through with us?
Well, I really wanted to do There Will Be Blood, because it's a fabulous movie, and I actually wrote a couple papers on it. So I was really intimately familiar with it, but it was too long for the way we wanted to show this for this particular time. So I switched to the movie that I'm currently thinking that we're currently doing,
which is
Get Out, which is Jordan Peele's masterpiece from 2017.
So there's a few things about Get Out. Number one, it's going to be to the best of my knowledge, the most recent film that we've done. It's also going to be in October.
Yes.
It's more from the horror film genre. Definitely different than a lot of other horror films because of, and again, it's my apologies that I'm going to wait until I actually get to watch it to see it for the first time. So, but I do know a little bit about the plot. And it's definitely different than other horror movies. So I think that it's really going to fit in well. And about half of the time of There Will Be Blood, which I have not seen that either, which I promise you I will watch both of those. That being said, one of the toughest decisions that we've had, we really had a interesting brainstorm session. We got together. You've obviously been invited to these last couple film series meetings. Yes. And sort of to go, we kind of talked about this on the last episode, but just to wrap up the final film series. In spring, we wanted to do a League of Their Own. We had it all set up with the baseball team. They were going to be playing catch with the kids out front. Obviously, that didn't work. We were going to push it back to summer. That didn't work. I was doing a film, the Final Out documentary, and we presented that as our summer CPC Film Series and had wonderful attendance and just so wonderful. And I appreciate everybody's support. I'm assuming you've seen the 3 episodes.
Yes, I have. And
the 4th will be out.
I love them. I love the little minis because I think that they hone in on a specific topic, and they're really, really charming and just a great little nugget of information. I really love them.
Well, I appreciate that. It's something that I wasn't compelled to do, but it's something I wanted to do. And sometimes I wish I didn't bite off so much, but those little ones are pretty easy to do. It's not anywhere near as involved. Anyway, we got together the Monday after that in August, and we really decided, are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? We can only have 25 people in the theater. How are we going to do this? And Adrienne Thoman, everyone's favorite guest, who we will promise have her on next episode, has been doing some film screenings outside. And there's been some ability for us to gather socially distant, of course, outside. So I'd like to announce to everyone, for the first time in film series history, we are going to have multiple locations available on campus. We can have 25 total people in the theater, which will be myself and you, and hopefully you can invite some other people who will want to join us for our small, cozy, intimate setting in the theater. But we are also going to be screening this, both the presentation and the film, in the student fellowship area just behind Boyer House, and we can have up to 50 people there. You will have to make sure that you have your masks with you in both situations, and it's going to be so cool. I'm so looking forward to this. So we'll have 2 locations on campus. The Nightway is going to be doing a fundraiser at both areas, and you're going to be simulcast, Leslie.
Yes, I know. This is a big deal for me.
So I really, at first, we were very concerned. People are not there yet in terms of wanting to try to get together. I think people are more willing to go outside. I mean, I'll personally make sure that I'm in the theater because I'm going to have to be recording so you can be simulcast. But I think that this is, I don't, collectively as a group, the CPC Film Series committee, coming up with this, fleshing out the ideas, really talking about how we can make this work. I really anticipate this being one of the biggest and best ever, especially because, number one, it's a scary movie in the middle of October in the evening. It'll be nice and chilly and hopefully, nice crisp fall weather. But you're also going to have the opportunity to be around your friends and family in the theater and colleagues to be able to enjoy that as well. And then, we'll enjoy the film. And I'm just so proud that we're able to figure this out. So I know it wasn't your movie that you necessarily wanted to pick first, but definitely will work very well with what we're trying to do.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a great movie. And just to give you a little bit of background on it, it begins with a young Black man who is going to meet his white girlfriend's family for the first time. They're going to drive out to their country home, and he starts off the conversation with his girlfriend saying, "Do they know I'm Black?" And she says, "Should they?" And that's sort of the ultimate theme setting for the movie. And what makes this movie so fascinating is that it's another corny phrase, but it's really like an onion. So you watch it the first time and you can't believe what you're seeing. And then if you watch it again, you know what's coming and you pay more attention to what's actually coming. And it's even more horrifying. So this is a movie where actually it's a very, very dark comedy, but the monster is actually casual racism. And so, yeah, it's scary because there's lots of suspense in it, but it's also really thought-provoking. And the fact that it came from Jordan Peele, who we all associate with really risque humor, let's say, right up to the borderline. I personally didn't realize he had this kind of a movie in him. It just shows how talented he really is.
When you think about, so obviously for the past 7 months, we think about the pandemic and we think about how our lives have all changed. And of course, we also think about, in addition to that, the racial injustice that has happened all throughout our country. I honestly will never forget the day when, just after George Floyd, his untimely passing, when on Twitter, I was at home. I'll tell you, this was the day that I filmed my documentary. It was that night. I'll never forget it because we filmed at Christian's house, and he lives off Union Deposit Road in Harrisburg, and I'm coming across the Wade Bridge, and the exits were closed because there was a demonstration downtown Harrisburg that day. Now, ultimately, there wasn't much to write home about in terms of things getting out of hand. That was the night that basically Philadelphia burned.
Yeah.
And I will never forget for the rest of my life something hitting me so hard because it had just been a couple of months since I had been to Philly. I haven't been to a 76ers game in years, and a friend of mine, we went to one in the end of February. And I was just there. My wife and I were engaged in Philadelphia. We got engaged in front of Independence Hall. It's just so close to us. I have so many friends there, so much family. It really affected me because when we see things on the news, very rarely does it have a direct impact.
Yes.
And it was that night that and I mean, I just couldn't turn away. I was watching this guy on Twitter he's a journalist, go street by street by street by street, and it was just so sad to see. And I think that part of the reason that you picked this movie was because it's October. It's a scary movie, and thematically it worked, time-wise it worked. But that being said, I'm sure that the racial injustice and that's been going on in our country, somehow maybe that was part of your selection as well.
Absolutely. And I think the fact that this intersected with a pandemic is pretty fascinating because we were all at home and we were watching the news. Many of us had the news on 24/7 anyway. And this is the time for us to wrap our arms around how we can make a difference in this fight. It's long, long overdue. But Get Out highlights a lot of the casual racism. It's the kind of thing where someone says, "Oh, I'm not racist. I have a black friend." But if you say, "I'm not racist," guess what? You probably are. You need to do some research. You need to dig in there and learn what people who have been through, why they're so angry. They've had no outlet for this anger. It's just too much. But Get Out, sort of in a different way, kind of really raises your awareness of how we say things that have really powerful effects on people. And we can be very well-meaning and still really hurt people. And, I'm going to frame some of my discussion as a middle-aged white woman who's really just waking up from this stupor of, not realizing the damage we do by these casual things that we say.
I have to be honest with you. I just to switch gears for a moment, I think that of all people, and I certainly hope that the film series goes on for a long time. I hope that in the future that we have students up in the future to do this, but you will certainly be the first. And I also wanted to point out, because I didn't do so earlier, Leslie, you're now the vice president of the co-vice president until the end of the year, in which in 21 you will be the co-president with Jen Dulac. So I wanted to announce that and wish you congratulations. When I reached out to you and asked you, I know that before you'd mentioned to me that you would be interested, but what were your thoughts when I asked you?
Oh, it's such an honor. And if I can, making a difference and engaging people and trying to influence students to really get involved it's practically my middle name right now, because I care so much about this school. And I'm a mother of the average age student, here. And I love how this experience has opened my mind to higher education and to just tuning into what's going on in the world. And I just want that so badly for my fellow students. So I'm begging you all to come out for this, because I want to engage in this discussion with you.
And I think that is, to me, the most important part about this, because it's not like it's a faculty member who maybe an audience member might say, they may have white privilege or something along those lines. This is somebody who goes to the school. You are without question very similar. So I know that you constantly preface things by saying, I'm older. I have a child who's college age, or children who are college age. But Leslie, that's what's wonderful to me about Central Penn.
Yes.
Is that I have people constantly who, and I, my wife will tell you that I say this all the time too. I constantly say my kids.
Yeah.
My kids. And last, few times I have to say, I can't say kids anymore, because on every class I'd say I've got half dozen people who are older than me. And so I guess what I'm getting at here is, I think part of the reason that we are so happy to have you is because you exemplify what it means to be a Central Penn student. We have different students from all across the board, every race, every age, every gender, from different parts from around this whole country. And I think that you, without question, exemplify that so well. And I think that's why it was just so easy for us to say, you know what, Leslie is going to be perfect for this.
Thank you so much.
One step further, Get Out was always one that you'd kind of thought about doing, and it was sort of that backup there. This was even before any of this happened.
Right.
And now, with all of this happening, and in the world, it's not like anything's been resolved.
No.
I hope that in some small way, and obviously I'm sure you're going to talk about this.
Yes.
In some small way, I hope that this is a way for maybe us here on this campus to continue that dialogue.
Yeah. It's a great way to have art intersect with pop culture and what's going on in the world, the current events. And you can find relevance in art that really applies to, these really tough subjects, really tough problems to solve in our society.
When you say about that, one of the things that I really experienced in my documentary, now again, I have to preface what I'm about to say by saying, yes, it was only 10 minutes, 11 with credits, was the message. Yeah. And really the message that I had, look, you could look at what happened to the season and you could be upset about it and throw a fit and regret everything that happened, but none of this was in anyone's hands.
No.
And so I wanted to say the message, and the message that I wanted to get across was, you had a great season. Maybe down the line you play again. Maybe you coach again. The game of baseball is not over for you. Just because maybe your on-field career might be, you still went out champions and you represented the school well. That's the message that I wanted. I think that is what is so difficult about being, I guess I can call myself a filmmaker now.
Yeah.
About being a filmmaker is because you want to have a message. You set out with a message. Here's my final question to you, Leslie.
Yes.
Do you think that Jordan Peele's message that he set out with, people have taken that away from it? Or do you think that people may just kind of look at it like another horror movie that's just is going to play every October? Do you think it's more than that?
I think it's a lot more than that, but I do think you raise a good point, and that is that these things need to be revisited constantly. And when you have a movie like this that so succinctly tells this story, we need to keep putting this out in front of people, because it's really a timeless concept. and we can't afford to forget any of this stuff again. And I hope the young people and old people alike who are protesting now, continue to keep this front of mind so that we can make some progress and get this thing worked out.
Well, I just want to remind everybody, we're looking at Friday, October 16th at 6:30. You will need to have tickets. There are going to be inside tickets. There are going to be outside tickets. I would highly recommend, if you are planning on coming, to get your tickets because we are going to sell out because we have a maximum capacity that we have to go by. One small note, if it is raining and we can't do outside, we do have ATEC 200, 202, 204, 206 reserved, so we can still show the movie, we can still simulcast the movie inside. But can everybody just cross their fingers and do whatever you got to do to hope that we get at least a cool evening without rain? Because I am looking forward to checking in during the film on both locations.
Yes,
because I think that's so cool.
It is really cool.
Well, Leslie, honestly, I thank you so much. You are such a valuable asset to this, and I've told you this many times, and I'm going to continue telling you this. Next time I have you in class, I'm going to fail you so you can't leave because as much as I love getting to know people and as much as I love helping them, it's such bittersweet days when I have to say goodbye to the Tylers and the Christians and the Leslies of the world. So I'm just so glad you have this opportunity, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it goes off without a hitch. But October 16th, Friday night, 6:30, we're going to have refreshments. We're going to have great conversation, and we're going to have a free film for Get Out. And so please make sure you grab your tickets. So, Leslie, thank you so much for being here, and I just really look forward to this.
Me too, and thank you so much for having me.
It's always my pleasure. All right, for Knightly News co-vice president, soon-to-be president, Leslie Heimbaugh, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll see you again next time on the Knightly News Podcast.
This is Tom Davis, Chair of English and Communication at Central Penn College. Thank you for listening to the Knightly News Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Knightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller here, sitting in with everybody's favorite guest.
I always get such a warm welcome, and I love that.
Well, and I have to be very careful how I introduce you anymore because you now have a different title, which we'll talk about momentarily. But your official title is
Dean of Student Engagement.
So you are now the Dean of Student Engagement. So that helps me because I remember previously I always would call you different things, and now I know Dean of Student Engagement, Adrienne Thoman. Adrienne, welcome back to the show for the first time in, how can I do some quick math? February?
It's been a long
time. It's now
time.
October. So we are in month number 10. It's been 8 months since we've had you on the podcast. 8 months.
It's been way too long.
Well, obviously, we have certainly talked about a lot of the reasons why it's been 8 months. Obviously, podcasting has been difficult for us in the interim, but we are going to be back. I wanted to point out to everybody that we are going to, for this term, do 5 podcasts. It's going to be every other week, as opposed to every week, week 1 through 8. It'll be every other week, weeks 1 through 9, I believe. So we're going to try that this term, see how it works. Ideally, eventually, we would like to go back to the every week schedule. But at this point, we're just happy to have something going on. So,
oh my goodness, yes.
So we will have you back again later this term, but it won't necessarily be every single month. So I know you're busy, I know I'm busy, so maybe that'll actually help a little bit. But we are going to look at having you back in November so we can talk more about those events when we come to that point. So, well, why Adrienne is always here on a regular basis is to talk about the wonderful things that we have going on campus. Currently, we are in a very interesting situation in as far as doing events as we used to, probably not the same.
Not a thing, no.
So,
definitely lots of changes.
The first thing I wanted to talk to you about is, in terms of your activities, obviously the way you're doing the activities is changing in a variety of ways. But in a general sense, what are some of the protocols and safety measures that you're taking on these events that you're going to be doing and the events we're going to be talking about?
So one of the big things is group size. So where we used to have large events indoors, outdoors, there are restrictions now in terms of how many people can be in each space. We've measured out our classrooms, measured out our theater to know how many people can safely be inside each room, which definitely affects things a little bit. Our largest space right now for an indoor event is the Capitol Blue Cross Theater, which can hold 25, which is also the limit set by the government for indoor events. So a lot of the things that we're doing, we're trying to move them outside. We're trying to get as many outside as possible just because then we can get more people there and involved. Obviously, still maintaining social distancing. We're masking up. Producer Paul and I are here. We're 6 feet apart. We're keeping things safe for everybody and maintaining those guidelines. And then we, have guidelines around just food and anti-bac and disinfecting and all those things too.
This has been extremely difficult for all of us in a variety of reasons. I would imagine, and I would argue, it's probably been more difficult for you than anyone else because it's literally part of your job to develop ways to get students engaged on campus physically. How has that, obviously you're doing some wonderful things, and we're going to talk about some of these wonderful things, but how has that changed your thought process? Some of the things that you've always done that are tradition here at Central Penn, including things like Fall Harvest, that just unfortunately aren't going to be able to happen this year. How's that really changed your thought process here?
So there definitely have been what I feel are some big losses. I'm sad that we're not going to be having Fall Harvest this year. There are some other kind of big things that we look forward to. Our homecoming dances indoors are not, it's not a thing we're doing right now. But on the opposite side, I have been really lucky to be able to, there are students that pop in for our Thursday night bingos that I have never seen at an in-person event. So that's been really cool. I've been able to really get to know some of our online students, our evening students, and some of those students traditionally we don't see during the day. So that's kind of neat to be able to maybe see a whole new population of students I haven't had a chance to get to know.
Well, obviously, if you've been a fan of the Knightly News blog, you would have seen one of our largest, in terms of number of visitors, stories that we did thus far this year was the story that was written about your promotion. So obviously you've been in the know, but this is the first time you've been on the podcast since that all happened. So tell us a little bit more about that. What does it mean for you? Maybe how has your job changed? And the better question, how did you find out?
Oh my goodness, let's see. So how has it changed? One of the exciting things, we always have been very collaborative in student services, so that is already a constant, but I get to work more collaboratively with housing and the theater and with athletics and working with those teams directly. It's been a blast. I love it. We call ourselves the Dream Team, which we are, and just to be able to work with them and learn their areas and help to support them has been really, really great. And it's cool the kind of things that we've been able to come up with in that collaborative environment. I look forward to doing that more. How did I find out? Oh my goodness. I don't know if there was, I think it was just in a meeting with Romeo. I don't think it was anything super exciting.
Well,
I mean, it was exciting, but it wasn't I don't know. It wasn't anything crazy.
No balloons and confetti is what you're saying.
No, you know what? Now that I think
informal.
about it, I'm kind of disappointed that there weren't balloons and confetti.
Maybe we can fix that for you, Adrienne. Well, I have to tell you that this has got to be, I don't want to speak for you, but it's definitely got to be one of the, if not the greatest accomplishment that's happened to you. I mean, I was very fortunate at commencement to be given the Todd A. Milano Faculty Excellence Award.
Talking about huge honors.
Very, very, very honored. It's funny because, and I have to bring this up and bust your chops a little bit. When we showed so it was virtual this year, and we recorded that, I don't know, a couple weeks ahead of time. You sent me a text and asked me if I knew. And I had to reiterate the fact, Adrienne, that it had been recorded. So
you know what?
yes.
I was in the moment. I was excited for you.
No, it was wonderful, and that's the thing too is I it's the same kind of situation. That's the only reason I brought that up is because that was, as I look back, that was clearly the greatest accomplishment that I've ever had in my career, and so but it was no fanfare, I mean, and I shared this on my social media. If anyone follows me on LinkedIn or any of the other social media channels, that I really, really wish I could have that chance to share that experience with the graduates at the ceremony. But it didn't happen that way, so maybe not quite as much fanfare, but the outreach that I received from my colleagues, and it was really memorable, and of course my mom, very proud.
Aww.
So I know where you're coming from as far as that goes. Well, Adrienne, one of the things, and congratulations from the Knightly News.
Thank
Dean
you.
of Student Engagement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So one of the things that we have been working on for, 6 months is our Night Quest 2020 Combat Hunger Philanthropic Initiative. And you and I, among a variety of others, I don't want to downplay them, but I off the top of my head, I don't want to miss anybody. So it was the two of us and a large group of other people from around the college who identified this as being something that they really felt strongly about. And so as we come back, we are going to be full speed ahead with our philanthropic initiative that is going to be around combat hunger. We are going to be working with 9 different organizations in the central Pennsylvania area, covering as many counties where the vast majority of our students come from. So if you would like, can you share a little bit about this and how maybe students can get involved with this in the fall term?
Oh, we are so ready for you to get involved. So first of all, go to centralpenn.edu/nightquest. That's where all the goods are. But really, we're looking for you to start a team and compete with us. And there are some really good prizes involved in this. But basically, you're competing. Your team of around 10 would probably be a good number of. It could be faculty, staff, students, a combination of. It could be the students in your housing unit. It could be your club. It could be your team. It really doesn't matter. Any combination. But get your group together, start a team, and then we're going to be competing by collecting canned goods, collecting monetary donations, and doing volunteer hours. And you earn points for all of those things. And there are different prizes each week, smaller prizes. And then in the end, there are some pretty sweet prizes for the top fundraising team.
We are very much looking forward to doing this. And, it's funny because whenever we first got into this group, we didn't know what we were going to do. And COVID kind of nudged us in this direction to do hunger. I was very lucky, and I've had some interesting experiences that I haven't really had a chance to share on the podcast, at least. When we were basically on stay-at-home orders, I'm a very active person. I like getting out of the house, as are you. And so being told that I have to stay in the house was quite difficult. So I wanted to find an opportunity to do some volunteer work. I work with Challenger Baseball. Obviously, our season was canceled. So one of the main things that means a lot to me personally, unfortunately, I wasn't able to do this year. So I'd done some work with some local musicians, and we had done a couple of different fundraisers that we gave to one of the organizations, New Hope Ministries, that we are supporting in combat hunger. And I actually had the opportunity to volunteer there for the last 6 months. And I got to tell you that experience really, when we first started talking about this, trying to make this decision about what we were going to do, that experience to me helped at least me provide some experience of what it was like for, people, a lot of people losing their jobs, a lot of people with hours being cut. Obviously, food insecurity is a major issue in the first place.
And then COVID has only made it bigger.
It really has. And, I am at this point now focused on the philanthropic initiative, so I'm not still volunteering there for at least fall, and I'm hoping to go back there next year. But I got to tell you, it's really changed my entire perspective, and this really means so much to me because I've been in it for the last 6 months. And just to have the opportunity to see the people, work with these people that I'm literally serving, helping to serve, it means a lot. And on a larger sense, I think that what we are trying to do here is so cool. But I think the most important thing is that this is going to be something we do every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an important thing to remember that, yes, we're focusing on that now, but every year the colleges are going to commit to having a philanthropic initiative that they're going to support on this scale, which is huge.
Which not necessarily combat hunger each and every year. You know, that's our theme for this year. Next year it could be something else. The following year, something else. But I love that this is one of the things that's so important to me. One of the reasons I've chosen to spend my career here is because community service is such a core value of the college, and I'm so happy to be a part of this, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure the Knightly News Media Club wins.
Well, our team is still fighting over our name, so I can't say what our name is, but we are going to give you a run for your money.
I hope you do. And it's only going to benefit these wonderful organizations. Again, centralpenn.edu/nightquest. You can find all the information. And anybody that needs a team, you can always join the Nightly News. So
or the soon-to-be named team that I have.
Well, Adrienne, it has come to the time of the show that everybody talks about, everybody cannot wait for, and that is Adrienne's featured 3 events for the month of October. Now, again, as we mentioned earlier in the show, these events are probably going to look a little different than in the past. With that being said, Adrienne is going to do everything in her power to make sure that we are engaging with our students. So, Adrienne, let's take a look at your first event of Adrienne's featured 3 for October.
Okay, so number 1, it is time to have some music. Everybody loves live music. And having an outdoor music venue, our activities advisory board was like, yes, let's do this. Let's get some tunes here on campus. They found an artist. Her name is Corinna Joy. Absolutely beautiful music. I think she's going to be amazing. And she's going to be performing live on Thursday night, October 15th. And just as a little tidbit teaser, before she comes on, our very own Jordan from the Public Safety Center is going to be opening for her, which we're super excited about.
I was unaware Jordan was a musician.
Well, I haven't heard him yet, so I'm excited to be able to support him in his art as well.
Well, and Adrienne, that's part of our homecoming week.
It is.
So tell us a little bit more about what's going to be going on that week.
So Thursday, music night with AAB. Friday night, our Central Penn College Film Series, which is going to have Leslie Heimbaugh talking about the movie Get Out. We're going to have a discussion and movie screening, which is going to be, I think, very interesting. I'm excited to hear her do that.
So Leslie was on earlier in the show, but there were a couple things I just wanted to add. I think that what is going to be so unique about this is that it is going to be in multiple locations. So we're going to have the upwards of 25 in the theater for those who feel comfortable in that avenue. But we're also going to be live streaming Leslie's talk. I will be producing that. And then we are also, weather permitting, of course,
Weather's going to be perfect.
It's going to be gorgeous. We're not even going to worry about that. We are going to stream the talk to the Fellowship Center and then show the movie at the Fellowship Center as well. Now, if on the 1% chance that it is raining, we are going to be doing it in ATEC with the limits of the capacity in the 200, 202, 204, 206. So we have all of that planned for this contingency. But I got to tell you, this could be, so long as everything goes off without a hitch, one of the most unique CPC film series ever.
Yeah.
And so again, I've said all along that the people who are going to be successful in this new world are the people who are creative. And we got in together in a meeting and we were like, how are we going to do this? We can only have 25 people. Like, do we just want to do it for 25 people? And then I said, Adrienne, you've been showing movies outside. How's that working? Oh, yeah, it works great. So this is going to be something really, really special. So I'm really looking forward to it. This is Friday, October the 16th for Get Out with Leslie Heimbaugh. So, and Adrienne, I have to thank you in advance for taking the lead on running the fellowship area in terms of the logistics. So, what else do you have coming up that week?
Okay, so that weekend I'm going to squeeze 2 more in.
Of
Okay,
course.
I know I get 3, but I'm going to squeeze 4.
Not a problem.
Because Saturday there are 2 different things. Saturday morning we are actually, as part of NightQuest 2020 Combat Hunger, we're going to do a kind of public facing for the community drive-through donation drop-off. So we're encouraging everybody to come through that morning between 8 and noon to drop off donations to add to our collection that the college is getting for those various nonprofit groups that we've selected. So hopefully we'll get a ton. Come by and visit us. Bring us your cans and non-perishables.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about Welcome Week as one of your events. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So week 1, we're going to do a little club fair on a little bit of a different scale. We're actually going to be doing a back to class blast, meaning that we're going to be expanding club fair a little bit to invite all of our college offices and departments to participate. We're going to have live music. Jason Karst is coming to perform. He's a local performer here. And we're going to have the Armed Forces Association manning the grill and doing a cookout. So we're going to have food, music, and an opportunity to hopefully get everybody involved and connected to campus.
Loving it. And there's one more thing on Friday you wanted to mention.
I did. I have my 3 is like a dozen today, but
we're just kind of grouping them together.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep. The Friday of week 1, we are doing donuts with Dr. Fedrizzi. And one of the things that I think is amazing is that our own college president, Dr. Fedrizzi Williams, comes in and does this event the first Friday of every term where she is in the lobby, we're passing out donuts, and she just uses it as an opportunity to get to know our students. So I think that's pretty incredible that she does that, and we're happy to continue it.
Absolutely. Well, coming back to campus, October 7th is the Back to Class Blast. October 9th from 9 to 11 is Donuts with the President. And then, of course, we're looking at our homecoming week with AAB Music Night on October 15th from 5 to 8 in the Quad. We have the CPC Film Series on October 16th at 6:30. And, of course, the Saturday Combat Hunger Drive-Thru from 8 to noon. And also have that campfire later on in the evening. So, tons going on. Obviously, things are going to look a little different here at Central Penn College, but we are going to do everything we can to make them safe and fun.
Wear your mask. You'll be fine. We'll have a good time.
Well, Adrienne, it's been my pleasure to have you back for the first time in quite some time. We'll have you back again before Thanksgiving and hear about what we have going on for the rest of the term. So, to the Dean, I got to get used to saying this. Dean of Student Engagement, Adrienne Thoman. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the first episode of the fall term. Again, we are going to be on the every other week schedule, so we'll see you in 2 weeks. But until then, thank you so much, Adrienne, and that's going to do it for another episode of the Knightly News Podcast. For Adrienne Thoman, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll see you again next time.